Hello and welcome back to Serendipity Intended. My name is Tracy Ann. I am so glad that you are here. It is a beautiful spring Saturday here in Maryland, and I wanted to sit down and do a little something. Unfortunately, I have a whole bunch of projects that I either want to go back to or start on, and I'm finding myself in a bit of a stuck spot. And so I thought I would sit down and just give myself a little bit of time to not necessarily start something big, but just dip in a little bit to something that I've had sitting on the side for a couple of months, and just see where that leads me. So without further ado, I purchased this junk journal from Coffee Sunshine Paper about 2 months ago, and it arrived in the mail, lovingly wrapped in tissue paper, and I was really pleased with the way that this journal was put together, and I'm super excited because I had peeked at the pages on the on her Etsy site, and but I was really pleased with what I found. So I just kind of wanted to share that with you, and then I'm gonna do a little bit with the front. So included in the journal was this lovely little bundle of goodies. So this dangle, which will definitely find its way either on the cover itself or somewhere in the journal. This cute little cellophane bag, and then just a couple bits in keeping with the theme of a field guide to butterflies, a butterfly postcard, and a guest check that has a little bit of dyeing and staining on it, and then this cute little paper pad, which I suppose I could take apart and use the pages in the journal, but I sort of like it just as a pad. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with this, but I'm thinking I might just leave it the way that it is. So these little goodies, which I'm going to put back in here, and I definitely will find a place for this envelope as well, just to make it a little bit of another tuck spot or place to store things. So there was this, and I always keep the tag when I purchase a journal. And then she included the cover page, which I also really love. I'll find a place to use that in the journal. Just not sure where yet. I did think briefly about maybe just adding it back to the front. But then I got another idea for this page, and so I'll find another place to put that. So just really quickly, I love this fabric that she used here to reinforce the binding. This particular book cover is in great condition, as was the inside front cover. And what I really was excited about with this journal was that there are a lot of blank pages that I could use just for journaling, or I could add on to, as well as some really fun stained dyed pages, some interesting graphic pages. Love me some birds. And even though this is a butterfly journal, or the book was a butterfly journal, I'm glad that she included some birds and some other things in here so that it doesn't start out too, I don't know, themey right away. Having a heck of a time turning the pages. And so that is the end. I love this image so much. And so that brings us to the end of the first signature. And then the second signature, and this is actually where I think I may use this page, because I'm not sure that this image goes with what I'm thinking about. So I may put this here. I do like the way that you can still see the washi. So that may end up right here. In fact, I'm going to kind of leave it tucked in there. And then, but oddly, this page doesn't bother me. I think it's just because it's a little bit more neutral. And love the botanicals. Always down for some sheet music. So you see, she's got a few butterfly things in here. I just love this page. But it's not overly themey. I also can't wait to play with this flip out page. It is absolutely fabulous. Another butterfly page here. So this is the center of that second signature. And then another flip out. I'm obsessed with that page as well. More of the staining. Music paper. A little bit more botanicals. And then this is the back of that chair photo here. I think it's just this bright blue. It's beautiful, but it just doesn't feel like it fits with everything else. So I think I'm going to leave that, but this seems a little bit more muted, so it might be okay. This might also be an interesting place actually to put the envelope. So there's some interest behind it, but not necessarily where you can see the whole image. So anyway, I'm going to leave this tucked back here. So I did want to at least start with the front here, just personalizing it a bit. I was going through some of my stash from this summer and some of the bits and bobs that I didn't use. And I found this guy, and he was from a freebie. I want to say it's a Louisa Heinzel freebie, but I'm not 100% sure. So I apologize to Louisa, and if it's not Louisa, whoever the actual creator of this is, for completely getting it wrong. But I thought he would make a fun paper doll. And this also was, I think, part of the same download. And then completely separate, I had these boots, and I am realizing that the one boot got cut off. So I'm going to have to kind of doctor that up a bit. But I thought I would give him some butterfly wings and make a bit of a paper doll and place that right here, kind of framing his head in this little bump, and then leaving this little butterfly that's on the page in place. So at the moment, that's the only thing I have in mind. We'll see where we head from other than that. So let me get the book out of the way just a bit here. And I like to use wax paper underneath so that I don't get glue all over my surface. So I'm gonna take this guy and just bring that down a little bit. This is just copy paper. It's not anything special at all. So I'm just gonna use my glue stick. That should be more than strong enough to hold those papers together. And now before I even think about gluing these boots on, I need to finish his feet, so that if I don't like how it turns out, I'm not stuck with it. So violet might be interesting for a highlight. And I'm definitely going to grab the gray. And, where is my black? Here we go. All right, so I have a few colors here. So let me first, I'm going to start with the gray and just try and, you probably can't see that. Let me see if I can zoom this in just the slightest bit. See that? Yeah, see that a little bit better. So I'm using the gray because this has a gray undertone here. So I'm using this gray to just figure out my shape. And it's not quite exact, but again, I'm okay with that. This feels like there's a little bit of purple in this, so I'm gonna just go back in lightly with the purple just to add a little bit of an undertone. And then I'm also gonna do purple in that same area with this pencil, so that the tint is consistent and goes one to the next. And then I'll take the black and add in a little bit more of the detail and some of the shading. There we go. So it's not perfect, but it's close enough that I think it'll work. And it also personalizes a little bit. So now that I've got that there, let me trim. I don't want to point. Okay, and I also don't want this white between them. I just left the white on there so that they would stay together in my little stash. But now that I'm using it, I'm going to trim that off so that I have two separate boots and I can place them onto my little paper doll. Okay. So there we go, some feet, and I think I need some legs behind this just so that I can glue them onto here and still see the tops of the boots. So this is just a piece of scrap paper. Which legs do I like better? The patterned legs or the solid legs? Solid. I think the solid. They're not going to be super long. So we'll stick with the solid. And then, let's see. There's one leg. And then I'll use that to cut the other so that they are the same size. All right, and then again, my lovely glue stick, and I'm just gonna glue the legs on here. I'm not terribly worried about them necessarily being the same length because this is really just so that I can get them glued on like so. So you're only going to see the smallest little bit of his legs. So let me go ahead and do both of these real quick. And I do kind of want them close together. There we go. All right. So now he's got feet, and it's a butterfly book. And again, even though I don't want it to be super themey, I do want to have a little bit of a butterfly idea going on in the front, but not necessarily literal. So again, this guy will sit just beautifully right there like that in this archway. It makes my heart so happy. And then I thought this butterfly would be perfect for him. It's a little bit too tight. I kind of want the wings to come out like this. So what I'm gonna do is first I'm gonna trim down the rest of this. I left this in case I wanted to use these butterfly antennae. So I didn't cut it out just because when it's sitting in my little storage container, little tiny antennae would get bumped up. I'm just going to cut right down the center so that I have the two pieces. And then I'm also going to, let me grab my hole punch real quick. Actually, not my hole punch, my circle punch. And I'm just going to grab something. It doesn't have to be anything special. I just need 2 circles. And this book paper is great because it's fairly thin, so it won't add a ton of bulk. I'm only doing this so that I have something to glue onto the butterfly wings. It'll make sense in a moment. So I'm gonna do this and then glue that to the butterfly wings here, and then do the same thing on this side. And again, I don't have to be terribly precise because this really isn't about the circles at all. It's just then the circles give me something that I can use to glue onto, so that I can be a little bit more precise about my butterfly wings. And so then I can decide how I want them. So kind of like that. And then I'll move my guy out of the way and add some glue. And then position him again. There we go. So now I have my butterfly dude. And oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I just realized I was zoomed back in still, and that was pretty much a hot mess. I apologize. I might have to edit that out. Okay, so that's my butterfly guy. And I'm really good. I know he doesn't have arms. I don't actually care. I like him just the way that he is. So I want to see if this is enough for a background or if I want to do some more. I do have this little scrap that I thought maybe I could use, but I think this is too much. It's too busy. So as much as I love this little scrap, I'm not going to use it. I did pull a couple of things that literally were just sitting on my desk just to kind of play with and see what they would look like in the background. So this little ephemera tag thing is nice, kind of neutral. Lets him ground. That's okay. I don't love this, but it's all right. That's a maybe. I grabbed this one just because of the color, because I thought the colors worked really well, but I actually think it's competing way too much with him. Yeah, way too much. So I'll find another spot for this precious little bit. I thought this could be interesting because it's botanical and floral, but it's much more neutral. But I just think it's too big. What if I did it? No, it just looks like I'm trying to stick something on there. I also grabbed this because I thought the colors worked really well, and it had butterflies on it. So let's see if, no, again, I think it's just like I'm trying too hard. It might be interesting here. I don't know what I want to do on this facing page. This is kind of an interesting idea. So what I am going to do is grab a little bit of just some washi that happens to be here on my desk. And when I'm not sure what I want to do and I'm not ready to commit, sometimes a little bit of washi is a big help because I can let it sit there. I can ruminate on it, and then nothing's permanent. I can always take it off if I want to. I do like this idea here I'm just not sure that I like the brown. I think it's too dull, and I need something else here. So let me go check in my stash and see what I can find. Okay, I'm gonna zoom just a little bit further out here. So I have this great little storage box that has these little wooden drawers, and they're great for storing bits and bobs. So this is my labels bits and bobs drawer. So what I thought I would do is just kind of pull out some things from here that could potentially be interesting. I also had this on my desk still. I'm gonna play with that as well. So just anything that's in here that I think might possibly work. It definitely needs to be something that might be too small. It needs to be something neutral-ish, you know, that doesn't draw a ton of attention to itself. I have these from something else that I've had for ages, and I'm kind of drawn to those a bit. Purple might be interesting. I almost have too much in here, and probably need to create some tags or something to get rid of some of this extra stuff. I do like these little number things, but I think they may be too, I don't know, maybe. All kinds of labels in here. Keep going down. Oh, what's this? Some other things here. Let me go through this little stack and see if there's anything. Probably not, but we'll grab that. Well, those are fun stickers. Okay, I'm gonna move my little container over to here, so as I change my mind about things, I have somewhere to toss them. So I just have this pile here, and I'm gonna kind of go through them and just audition them to see whether or not they work. Ooh, and there's the first one, which I didn't think would work, but see, it's a little bit plain. The background matches. I kind of like the orange here, so that's a maybe. Let's see, where's my maybe pile? I'll put the maybes over here. And no, that's boring. Wrong shape. Don't like the colors. Way too much. I do like the blue, but it's kind of small. He's gonna live about there. You know what? I'm gonna hang on to this just because I like the blue with this, and maybe I can pair this with something else. So I'm gonna hold on to that. This, of course, is a shape. No, completely wrong. And that could also be paired with something and make sense. Wrong color. Maybe paired with something else. You know, I think the text is a little too dark on that. Now that's just boring. Too brown. Not completely wrong. What was I thinking? Yeah, the brown is not working for me. This purple. No, it's way too saturated. Maybe as an extra element, that's a little too muted, I think. I like the shape of this. It's kind of interesting. It's almost too saturated though. too saturated and too much. This one, no, I don't like that blue. The blue doesn't work. That's the same color. What about this darker? No, because see, the blues in here lean more towards turquoise as opposed to this sort of navy color. They don't work. Oh, Field Notes is sort of fun. That also could potentially be interesting, as could this one. So tuck those in. Nope, boring. Ooh, this pink is sort of, it's not quite the right shade of pink, although it does tie in with his face. This is kind of a maybe. Ooh, this one. I kind of like this with this, but I don't like it at all with the background. I think it's too many different shades of green going on. I thought I was gonna love this, but I don't. Yeah, see, this one works a little better with the background and totally not at all with this. Right, now this pink works a little better. It's a little bit more purpley. Okay, that's also a maybe. What is, oh, another number tag. I'll set that one aside here too, just in case. That's a maybe. Okay, so I was hating the browns, but now this one doesn't bother me. I think it's because it's a little more yellow, perhaps. That is kind of interesting also. And then I had this, it's not a label, but I just, because of the colors, I wondered if that might also not be interesting. I think it's too much going on in the background. All right, so I've narrowed it down a little bit, and I don't want to overthink this too much. I just need to create something here so he feels a little bit more grounded. And I kind of like, if I go this way, no, I actually do like it better, like so. That's really fun. And then maybe, no. That. I was thinking I wanted to use the color, but as I'm building this more neutral background, I'm thinking that it might be better to stay with the neutrals just so that he pops a little bit more. No, I'm trying too hard with that. I do like that. Okay, this is a possibility for the front of this. And the question is, do I want to, oh, the page goes all the way over to there, so I could extend that just a little bit further. Yeah, I think we're almost there. I do want a little bit of something else. I have this French book page, and I'm gonna just, I like this edge of this book page. So what I think I'm gonna do is just tear, no, I don't want such a straight edge. I'm gonna use this ruler so that I get a little bit more of a uneven edge to it there. Okay. And sorry about that, fighting with my rulers. just to have, maybe tear the top a little bit, just to have a little, say, extra something. No, it's not right. I like this edge, but it doesn't have the text on it, which is really what I was wanting. So let me grab my roller again. That's why I couldn't get it back in there, because it knew I was gonna need it a second time. All right, I still can't fit it in there. Maybe tear off the bottom edge as well. There, that I think a little bit of extra something. Okay, this works for me. I do think that I need to grab my pencil. All right, so I'm gonna put that right there. And I am gonna grab, oh my, I'm gonna grab my color box, Wicked Black, and just really lightly edge these with the black. It's super subtle. I'm doing that for two reasons. One, to hide the white of the paper that this is printed on, but then also to give just a little bit of black so it pops a bit from the back and helps it to tie in with the little guy that's got so much black on it. I'm not going to do it with the book page, but I am going to do it with my label here. Again, hide that edge, help it pop a little bit from the background, and connect the pieces together. And then definitely, this is a digital, and it's not quite trimmed to the edge. So not only am I hiding the white paper, but I'm also minimizing the little bit of not so great trimming job that I did. Okay. A little bit more. Okay, here we go. Now, I ordinarily do a quote, particularly on the front page. The dilemma is I don't know what I want to put. So I'm gonna not worry about that right now. I'm just gonna adhere these items down. Now, a lot of times when I'm gluing, I will just use my glue stick, like I did for this guy. But this paper is pretty lightweight and flexible, and so the glue stick will be fine. This is a little bit heavier, and as is the background paper, and it's going to be really close to the edge where it's going to get more flex. So I'm going to use this art glitter glue just because it has a little bit more holding power than the glue stick, and I think it works a little bit better when you've got a situation where the pages are going to flex more. So go ahead, and I'm going to use my little registration mark that I put on this. You can sort of see, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it doesn't want to sit flat here because of the curve of the page behind it. So that art glitter glue will help it stay stuck. Okay. And then I think I can get away with everything else using the glue stick. So I'm gonna kind of layer these back in to find exactly how I want them to be. Do I want it separated, or do I want it like actually behind him? Yeah, I think like that. Okay, so this will go here. His feet there. And this will go in there. All right, so glue this down first. I really should be using one of my catalog glue pads rather than my wax paper, but you know, this actually looks really nice with this flower too, which is part of the reason I think that this works well on this page, because it connects with the colors that are already there, which is nice. Actually, as I'm gluing this down, I probably should have used the other side because it has text all the way up. But again, not gonna stress about it. Okay, now I have to do, before I glue my butterfly guy down, I have to position my field notes label, and that I want to come out a little bit further. Actually, maybe just to that line. All right, so right. It's always nice when the background has lines on it. You can use those to get yourself in the right spot. All right, so I actually have this. This is just a page from a catalog, and I use old catalogs. I recycle them, and I use them as kind of glue mats, because when they finally do get icky and gross, then I can just throw them away. And so rather than just tossing them in the trash or even in the recycle bin, I can get a little bit of reuse out of them first. Oh no, I did want to, hide the flower behind a bit, and see the butterfly. And now my paper here is in the wrong spot. So let's see if I can get it back up. Oh, thank goodness. There we go. And bring him up so I can tuck that behind. That was not, I wasn't paying attention. All's well that ends well. Okay. All right. So that's a nice little beginning for my book. I want to grab my, so I have this Sketch and Wash. I guess it's like a charcoal pencil. I'm not exactly sure what it's made up of, but what I like about it is that I can use it. So I'm just coloring a little bit down along the side of this guy, like so. And then I usually just take a water brush because it's easy and handy. And I get some water going in that. And then I can use the water brush to activate that charcoal and get a little bit, need a little more down here, get a little bit of shading going on. Just to add a little bit of depth to that. And yeah, that worked out pretty well. And I'm not sure if you can see that, so just a little bit of shading. All right. And I'm still not sure about this picture over here. I'm still liking it with what's going on over here, but don't really know yet. And so I'm just gonna leave it as is for now. And I actually do kind of also like the little bit of washi up here. So we'll see what I do with this. And again, I'm not gonna put a title on it yet because I'm not 100% sure what this is going to be about, but I am really loving this page here. And so yeah, I think I'm just gonna call it a day. That's a pretty good little bit of work. I'm sort of happy. And thank you for joining me. I hope, as always, that you give yourself a little bit of time to play, be creative, even if it is something that you know you're going to leave slightly unfinished. That's okay. The most important thing is to sit down, show up, and make something. And until next time, I hope that you make a great day. Bye.